Telling it like it is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. We are a purpose before profit company that guides small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs. Sharing knowledge and stories is why I started telling it like it is. It is live. It is on Facebook or LinkedIn. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section. We will answer them. I would like to thank Bitfo for their sponsorship. They are Canada's premier cryptocurrency exchange based out of Calgary. They have just released 4 new digital currencies. They are real people and digital currencies. Download their app and start trading today. Their website will be up in the comment sections right away. I am excited about today's guest because I know nothing about programming and developing. I am as untech as you can get. So, Margo, thank you for joining me today.
So am I, though, Jade. Thank you for
I
having
always
us.
laugh, right? I mean, I'm an investor and I invest in a lot of tech companies, and I am honestly the least tech person you will ever meet in your life.
Well, and I do like to tell every cohort, because I am kind of proud of this, that I did actually hard code a website that way back when, gosh, when people used to ask, hey, do you have email? My older
Wow.
brother, who's a tech guru, he had said, hey, let's start this company together. You've got kids, you're at home. So, but he wouldn't let me use Dreamweaver. He wouldn't let me use any of the programs that used to help you build websites at the time. He's like, so he emailed me from his HTML textbook from Waterloo. And he's like, or he didn't email me, he mailed it to me. He's like, read this. And I had to hard code a website. And I remember one time a page didn't show up. And I said to him, I can't figure this out. And he goes through my code. He's like, oh, you missed I don't know, backslash or something on line 76. Really? Real, that was the end of Margo's programming days. So I do understand a little bit about what they're doing. I will never ever complain again about why can't I get this feature on my website? Why won't it let me search for this? Because I now see what is involved in being able to search whatever the heck some one person wants. And there's a reason that I'm on the essential competency side of our program rather than part of the tech facilitation team.
Well, I always laugh, right? I mean, that's one of the things I love about Startup TNT now. Before, a group of us used to do it on our own. None of us were really that techy. We would dive into to the best of our knowledge. And now we've got some really people that understand it and programmers and have exited businesses. And I rely on their knowledge. Like there's no tomorrow, right? I'm like, okay, Don, you go to town on this. He's phoned programmers in Macedonia and had spent time, and he comes back and says, yeah, this is solid. I'm like, all right, good. I mean, I just
Right.
want my phone to work. I want my computer to work. I want Be Live to work. That's it.
Well, and to every company to some degree will be a tech company. Every company will be. And so there is a level of tech we
Yeah.
all need to understand. We are in the digital age. So this isn't a, oh, I don't understand. And because I don't program, I'm not technical. I am technical. I'm just not going to be the person that's going to create the programs or the apps that you're going to work with. However, I
Exactly.
do understand the value of it and I understand how to use it. And more importantly, I understand, and this is one of the key components of InceptionU, is how do we get people to work well together? How do we get them to be able to communicate well with each other, with the clients? How do we get them to really, truly understand the problems before they go building a tech solution so that the solution that they build actually solves the problem?
I mean, now we've kind of just ran off into a certain level of where we want to go eventually. So I'm just going to dive right into it right
Okay.
there, and we'll come back to some of the other questions that I had asking. But now to build on what you just said there, I think that's a very important part of a company or teaching somebody, because when we're working with people through peer guidance, it's like, well, I'm going to create this, I'm going to solve it. I'm like, well, do you even know if there's a problem for that, or people will buy it, or things along those lines? So how does like the programs at Inception you work to kind of work to help people understand that?
Well, your tagline of purpose before profit actually is a perfect descriptor of what it is. We work with them to really look at and understand what is the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. What is the purpose. Why are we doing it? Why is this a problem? And then we work with them to build their thinking capability so that they make more effective decisions. And it's not a you have it or you don't. There are some people who are naturally inclined towards critical thinking and systems thinking, and to really think about things ahead of building something. And it's something that it's a muscle that can be built. It's something that anyone can build. So we work with them to understand, well, what are the components of more effective thinking?
Yeah.
How are things interrelated, interconnected? Because nothing operates in isolation. That would make it nice and clean for us as humans if this just stayed in its lane and this stayed in its lane. And that's actually not how life works. It's not how business works. And so what we do is we help them with being able to understand complexity. And that's not just about breaking it into its component parts and then adding them back up. That's not how complexity works. It's that exponential effect and so on. And so helping them with really taking something that is relevant to them, that is meaningful to them, and that is purposeful for them. And then applying those components of critical thinking and systems thinking and creative thinking to things that are already engaging for them. And what we find is that drives the learning outcomes far more than if we had a preset curriculum and we said, here's what you're going to do. We're going to tell you what you need to know, and then you get to go do it. Instead, bring in what you're interested and curious about, and we will help you make sense and meaning out of it and understand it so that you can then, with your technical learning, be able to create a solution to it.
And I love that. And again, right, it's something that's happens in businesses all the time. So
Yeah.
did you see this almost goes back to the first question I always ask everybody. So when you founded InceptionU, did you
Mhm.
see this was a gap in the market and why you founded InceptionU?
Yeah. So my co-founders and I, so Jill Langer, Greg Hart, and myself,
Yeah.
we each had our own practices in consulting and things. And we had worked in organizations as well. And so I did a lot of communication, career work, leadership development work. And Greg did a lot of design work and critical thinking work. And then Jill did a lot of business processes, visual thinking, visual communication, and creativity work with companies. And we looked at it and we said, these are the things that keep getting sliced off, right? They keep, if there's a budget, like we need people to have the technical capability. And yes, absolutely. That's what they do.
Yeah.
What we saw was that how we do it that could distinguish a company from another company, that could see that both your people and your product thrive, that was missing. And what we thought was those are the essential competencies. Those are what distinguishes you from your competition. It's what distinguishes you within the market. It's also what distinguishes you in the employee market too. What makes someone be compelled to work for you as compelled to work for someone else? And we saw that these essential skills and the how we do things and giving people that kind of flexibility to bring their best stuff rather than saying this is the only way was what was missing. And if we were going to build a thriving innovation ecosystem and sector in Alberta, we needed to be able to build those capabilities in people. What we also saw was people were hungry for it. At
Yeah.
first people were like, oh, that's a great idea. Good luck. And then eventually when things got really rough in Alberta, what we started hearing from people is we need to try something different. We need to try different things. And so we saw our window of opportunity and said, let's put this out on the market, and let's see who shows up. And it's almost like a magnet. Let's pull people in who are looking for this kind of thing. And first thing we put out there was the full stack developer program, because there was an absolute need for developers in Calgary. And we said, if we take these essential competencies and we put them together with the technical capability of software development, imagine the talent that's going to go on the market.
I love that. I mean, I agree, right? There's a shortage. We keep hearing about the shortages out
Mhm.
there, and things along those lines. So when you say that teach, different, do you teach them? The one thing I notice about some of the I'm not going to say all of them, but
Mhm.
is kind of the, if I want to separate it into the back of the house and the front of the house sort of thing.
Yep.
Do you know, I mean, like I said, I understand nothing about the back of the house, right? But I want it to work for the front of the businesses and how it works. Do you
Mhm.
kind of teach some of the guys and ladies that are programmers that may not understand marketing and business and accounting? Do you kind of dive into that so they become almost that well-rounded person that
Mm.
can sit in the meetings and say, yeah, this can work with marketing, this can work with sales, that type of conversations?
Yeah, we do it in a couple of ways. So that's where the design lens, which applies to absolutely everything we do, comes into play. So if you're really looking at design, it's about creating the conditions for success. That's ultimately what design's about, and that really includes understanding how do humans behave and how do they think. Because if we don't understand that, you can build. There are lots of apps that we've got on our things here that no one ever touches because it wasn't designed to understand how people would actually use it. So we really take that design lens in everything. That's the overarching lens that we do everything through so that they understand the user, they understand the business they're in, they understand the other people and the other teams in the organization. And at minimum, if they don't understand exactly what they do, that's okay.
Yeah.
That they're curious enough to really understand how do we all fit together? What is the purpose of each component of the business, of each person on the team, so that they really can at least ask questions to help each other, help themselves, and help others make the connection between the things. And we do that as well through a simulated work environment. So when we're doing the learning that we do, for example, in the full stack developer program, it's 6 months.
Yeah.
And what we do is we do 3 projects over the course of the 6 months. And each project is slightly longer, slightly longer. And through that, they're experiencing team. Through that, they're learning by doing. We don't say, okay, you're going to take all these lessons and then you'll get to do your project. We say, put your hands on the keyboard and go. We just launched project 1 yesterday with cohort 7. And there is a little bit of fear because we're used to learning before we do. And that's what we've generally been taught. And so there's a little hesitation at times. And what we find is that that's what it's going to be like in the work world. You're not going to sit there and say, you got hired and they say, here's the project. You go, okay, well, I'm going to go for a couple of months and I'm going to go learn this and then I'll get to the project. No, they're paying you for it. Get to work, right? And get to work means get to learn. So we simulate that. And then they also have, the second way we do it is that they have what we call choose your own learning. So while we have a foundational set of learning experiences that they're going to have, we have people who have PhDs and comp sci degrees that are coming to update and refresh, through to people who never wrote a line of code before they did what they had to do to pass the tech assessment, all in the same cohort. And so what we want to do is we create in there room for people to choose their own learning. So if I'm saying, you know what, I still don't think I get the fundamentals of this particular language, well, then we set up sessions with them for them to get the fundamentals. And there are people who are saying, I want to go really deep and I want to go really far with this because I get that. We set up things for them to be able to go as far as they want, which again simulates the world of work. You're not going to be working with a group of people who have the exact same amount of experience, who have the exact same, everybody has the MERN stack and that's all we have. And you're going to be working with people with a variety of experiences, from professional and personal, that all informs what they're like in the world of work. And so that's part of how we help build that understanding of what business is so they can be of value and contributing right away.
Oh, and I love that, and I think that's a great thing that you're instructing in the school, because nothing goes according to plan. Ever. Right? Here we go, right? Like, doesn't matter if you're a long time business, it doesn't matter if this is the way I think it's going to be in a startup or anything that is out there. So being ready for what's going to happen and punch you in the face is necessary. I mean, I see it on a daily basis within companies, and I think that's got to be, I don't want to say it's a struggle. I'm sure you guys have probably mastered it, but I think that's interesting. If you have someone with a PhD that's coming in, and then you have Jade Alberts coming in as a dumbass knowing nothing, that's got to be hard to have them on the same level.
Yeah, we are constantly, I would love to say we've mastered it. And part of what we've mastered is we're always learning, right?
Yes,
So
I bet.
we have been testing and iterating over years. It was a design challenge. The whole, we
Yeah.
said when we started out, again, what's our purpose? No one gets left behind, no one gets held behind. Okay, and how do we do that? So we've constantly been learning and putting feedback loops in our own program so that we have been able to figure out ways of addressing it, that people don't get lost and start to doubt their own capability, and that people don't get bored and think, oh, why did I bother taking this, because I already knew that. So thank you for saying we probably mastered it, and we're constantly working to get even better at that ourselves.
Oh, no, I bet you are. Again, I'm talking with Margo Purcell, the co-founder and CEO of InceptionU. You can go to their website, InceptionU.com. Just click on it in the comment section. It'll take you directly there to find out more about their programs and what they do. And speaking of programs and what you do, why don't we talk about a few of them? You mentioned the full stack
Yeah.
developer, but what else do you have? Can you share anything about the programs, their cost, how to register, how long are they?
So we have the Evolve programs, which are longer form programs. So those are 6-month full-time intensives. Right now, we're in cohort 7 of the full stack developer. We are opening up applications for full stack developer. Cohort 8 will open on November 1st. So do watch for that, because that will start in February. And those ones are 6 months long. And we're about to launch the full stack designer. So where a full stack developer is spending probably 70% of their time in development and doing the software development and the coding, and about 30% of the time in the learning environment, and as well in the work environment, it's important that they also understand and can do and contribute to design. With a full stack designer, it's kind of flip that. So they're more on the design aspects of it. So it's not only UX UI, though that is one of the career pathways that can come from the full stack designer. It's also, how do we apply design to anything, to any challenge that we're facing? And then they spend about 30% of their time learning the tech that goes in behind it, some of the tools, as well as some actual coding that goes in behind design of great products. So that's the full stack programs, and those are the Evolve programs. What we're working to get out in the market shortly is we are working on our first online offering, which will be full stack thinking. So it's taking that whole critical thinking, systems thinking, creative thinking, kind of mashing them together into foundational full stack thinking. And that will be available in probably the first quarter, hopefully, of 2022. And then we have shorts, which are things that are offered to, it can be for companies can bring it in directly to work directly with their teams. Also, we'll be starting to put out ones where individuals can sign up. So one, for example, we did was a generating innovation series. And so how do you, as a company or a team, you've got a challenge you need to get to, you need to take a new approach, you don't know exactly how to do it, and by the way, we don't have time. So what we did was we said, well, bring the challenge into the learning. Instead of you go and take an innovation course and now you come back and you try and apply it, bring the challenge into the course. And what they did was, by the end of the 4 sessions, they had a prototype design solution, which they got to get to something they never seemed to have time to get to. And they learned how to innovate. And now it's about, so now that we've done that in something real for us, how and where else can we apply it in our company? Because they learn how to innovate as part of the process as well.
So do you actually bring real life examples in? Is that
Mm-hmm.
kind of what that meant? So if Jade,
That's what that one did.
peer guidance comes in and I said, I want this. And I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Fix it,
So they
create
had
it.
a real,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
we
cool.
have something and we know we need to get to, we know we need to innovate. We need to create something totally different than how we've generally done things around this challenge. They brought in the challenge. We learned how to communicate and how to work well as a team together. What do we each bring to innovation as individuals? What are the qualities I bring? And then we went into problem setting. Let's truly, do we really actually understand the challenge we're facing? Then we went into problem solving and ultimately into designing prototypes. And it was fascinating. And the conversation they had, oh, by the way, it ended up being a team build at the same time. So it's a different way. So we're not separating them, because time is one of our most precious resources. And so to think, well, I've got to do this before I can do that. For us, it's again, is it relevant? Is it meaningful? Is it purposeful? If it met all of that and you're learning at the same time, then it's kind of bigger bang for your buck.
I love that. I didn't, and again, I didn't know that you did that. And I also think it's important for the students as a learning process to say, okay, you know what? Now
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not dealing with my instructors that are going to be, yay, it looks pretty good. Oh, that's okay. Pat on the back. It's, just do it this way next time. You're actually dealing with real life situations, which sometimes just aren't as friendly, we can call them, or
There
people
were
that aren't
moments.
as understanding maybe as an instructor. Well, maybe it prepares them mentally
Yeah.
for what the real world might be like.
Well, and that's where we work with, the whole real world. So sometimes in a learning situation, sometimes, and I've been in the learning and development business
Yeah.
for a very long time. I won't tell you how long, a long time. So I've got a lot to draw on here. And learning shouldn't be an event. And it shouldn't be that we go there, we learn, and then we leave. It's about being really meaningful. That's going to drive better learning outcomes, and that it's not a separate thing from our work. And one of the things I've heard over the many, many years is we just don't have time. We just don't have time. So let's combine the things so you're actually getting to things you need to get to through the learning. And so there's going to be other shorts that you're going to start seeing coming online. We're looking at, we've got things that we can do in terms of how do you help your team be more effective, period. And we've got all sorts of options in and around that, around visual thinking and communication. How do we learn to think and communicate to a wide variety of people so we actually generate even bigger outcomes and more exciting results than if we just did in a really linear way. So those are some of the things that are going to be coming as well. And then lastly, it's about how do we apply the principles rather than a method, right? So that's, again, we're learning, oh, I went to this
Yeah.
workshop and I learned this 5-step process. Fantastic. There's a risk it can become really mechanical and that we're just executing the 6 steps of this process. We like
Yeah.
to look at how do you make it meaningful and how do you learn the principles underneath it that underpin it rather than the steps involved, because then the steps, oh, no, we're on step 3. Sorry, but something came up that we need to go back to step 1. And if you're going through a mechanical process, there's a risk you miss what you really need. So we work on how do we, for example, agile principles. So you can apply them anywhere, that it's not
Yeah.
only in a software development situation.
You've kind of answered my next question about what's coming up next, which is great, which is gives me it gets my brain going to ask another question. So I uh, I don't want to ask this the wrong way to think that you're gonna,
Okay.
all of a sudden all these companies are gonna come and say, I want work from you guys. But is there a criteria for, let's say, maybe not a startup, maybe a company that's about ready to scale and needs something, or a well-established company that can come to you? Is there any qualifications, or is there anything that you look for when a company wants to do that you want to take on this real life challenge?
I'd say that we probably look for similar things that we look for in our learners.
Okay.
Are you curious? Is your company really and your team really curious to get to a place of deeper understanding rather than simply a problem we got to solve and so we can be done with it? Are you open are you adaptive at all? And even if you're not fully adapted, maybe that's part of what you need to learn. That's okay too. What we really do want to see is, are you curious and eager? And are you willing to dive right in with us? Because our job is not to tell you what you need to do. Our job is to facilitate the learning and to create the conditions for your team and your company to get what you need to get and to do what you need to do. And so if they're open to that, and no, we're not going to have things all preset, and you're not going to get an agenda that tells you at 9:05 we're going to be doing this and at 9:12 we're going to be doing that. If you can be flexible and trusting in yourselves, most of all, and then in the environment that we're going to be creating with you, then that's an ideal fit client for us.
And I not only, I mean, I don't want to use the word co-op program, but I think that's got to be really good for the hiring process when someone says, I like this, these 5 or 6 or 10, people that we have worked with. And you know what, maybe it's time for us to bring 3 or 4, or maybe all 10 or one
Yeah.
in house, hire them because we like them.
Yeah.
We know how they work. They fit with our culture.
Yeah, and that's been really neat in terms of the demo days, and we recently got an email that was really interesting. So someone who had come to demo day for cohort 6 and saw, wow, what they produced, because we want them to demonstrate what they're capable of. And what they produced showed that a capability both as team and as individuals to be able to actually create things, and yet went into interviews and were, you know, the questions being asked for the technical assessment from the recruiting standpoint, they were like, they couldn't answer those, but I could see that they can do it. So what am I doing in my interview that, like, what am I asking and how do I do it differently to be able
Yeah.
to actually assess the capability and what they could do in my company? And so we're in conversation with that, with some companies that had gone through our demo day and are saying, we're reevaluating how we evaluate and assess potential talent because what we saw and then what we're asking don't match up. So that's been a pretty interesting development of late.
Oh, I like that. And again, I didn't I didn't know that you kind of had those programs that brought in live examples because I think that that's the best way to learn, in my opinion. Right? Here you go, hands on, not follow this, do this.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna not like what you did, and they're gonna tell it like it is, and hopefully your feelings don't get hurt. And like I said, the real world is different from school, and
Yeah.
I don't care if that's grade 1 to 12 or
Yeah.
university or coming to Inception U. It's just you have to learn not to take things personally, and some people learn that the hard way, and some people never learn it, which is sad. But no, I think that's just great, and having that. I think it's so important for, I mean, I just say the programmers and developers to understand what goes on the front and
Yeah.
be able to contribute. And because they're just not programmers and developers, they have their own ideas. They're going to think the same way our daughters think differently. When I say, hey, can you create a marketing program for my client for this, is way different than what I'm going to think about it. And I think when they start adding, no, why don't you think of this or something outside the office or outside the box, they're contributing as a team member to the entire success of the company.
And that's one of the things that we encourage more than anything is questions. Not smart questions,
Yeah.
not the right questions, questions. And how do you get better at asking questions rather than rewarding the answer, which is historically what I don't know if that was my experience in school. And it actually kind of quashes unintentionally that curiosity. So we want to foster that again. And that's one of the most powerful things you can bring is asking
Yeah.
questions that people in the company maybe haven't been asking themselves, that can be really, really effective and contribute value to that company and that team and what they're trying to achieve.
No, absolutely. I love that. And I'm always sad when our interviews have to come to an end. It was such a good conversation. I love having good conversations. Just throw it out there. Give me 30 minutes and let's have a little chin wag. And this has been very educational. So again, I thank you for
Thanks, Jade.
for enlightening me a little bit. But I do have one more question left for you,
Yes.
and I am going to put a little spin on it for you.
Okay.
I mean, I figured this question would have went away, 180 sessions ago, right? But I just love the answers I receive, and there's always something new. So if you had one piece of advice for a programmer or somebody who wants to get into programming and start a new career, what would that be?
It won't be a single piece of advice.
It never is. I know. I always say
Never
one. I
is.
know it's always
See,
it's a
career's my
longer
thing.
answer.
Like that's what I get so excited about. Learn, always be learning. No, you will always be learning. That learning is not separate and then you get to go do in the world. And so foster your curiosity. If you're looking at going into developing and programming, code. So the technical side of learning is always be coding, always be keeping your GitHub current and active. That is a way of demonstrating what you're capable of that will outperform a resume. And so, yeah, just stay curious, stay hungry, and continue pushing yourself in a way that's really towards things that are meaningful and purposeful for you, because your learning will be richer, and what you're capable of doing at the end of that learning, or at the as you continue learning, but the outcomes will be much deeper and stronger than if you're going through a set of steps to try and get to an end so that I can be done with this. So you'll always be learning. And when you're in that area, that's how humans are born. We're always learning. We're little sponges as babies, and we're still sponges as adults. So step in to what's really meaningful for you, and continue learning.
No, I love that answer. I mean, I love listening and learning, and it's an important part of what's got me where I am today. And I guess I have to ask, did you just take the Glengarry Glen Cross ABCs and take out closing? Eh?
Are we dating ourselves if I say I know what you're
That's all
talking
right.
about?
Well, I guess we can go to I think I can't remember that one. Boss Baby or Baby Boss here just came out, right? It's ABCs, always be cookies, right? Like things. So we can bring it up to the animated thing here.
Yeah, we could update it.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't care how old you are. That clip, I bet you I see it at least once a month somewhere.
What's even one of our taglines? Understand anything, build something, change everything. ABC works in a lot of places. So.
It does. Exactly. It does. Oh, again, Margo, I'd like to thank you again for coming on and sharing the InceptionU story. Anybody that wants to find out any more information about it, please click on the website in the comments section. You can reach out to Margo or myself, and we'd be able to answer any questions. So I also like to thank Bitvo again, Canada's premier cryptocurrency. They just brought in 4 new coins based out of Calgary here. Pamela Draper, support local if you're going to be looking to getting into that. So again, Margo, thank you very much for spending time with us today. And I look forward to another demo day. Oh, when is the next demo day? Do you have a date for it? I stumped you.
March. Woo! It's in March.
Oh, yeah, we'll just put March 2022 down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the team's gonna be like, I can't believe you didn't know that.
Well, there'll be enough posts out there that we'll
remember
coming in January, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you again,
Thanks for having us.
Have a great day, and we will chat soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.